Hello, my name is Saron Yitbarek, and today I'm going to tell you about what I learned from 6 years of building CodeNewbie. So before CodeNewbie was acquired by Dev, we did a bunch of things. We did Twitter chats, podcasts, meetups, and our annual conference called Codeland all by ourselves. My coding journey was started many, many years ago, and about 7 to 8 years ago. And during my coding journey, I started in the world of startups. I had tons of experience doing things like business development and marketing and sales, but it was all on the non-technical side, the non-engineering side of startups. And I love this world. I love this idea of building something from nothing, starting from scratch, and being able to create these new experiences and products for different people. But what I realized was that who I really wanted to be wasn't this business development marketing person. Who I wanted to be was hacker woman. I wanted to be the person behind the actual product, the person who was building, the person who was creating the thing that other people got to use. And so I looked at that and I said, man, I really want to get into the technical side of things. And so I decided to learn how to code. I left my job at my startup and decided to spend about 3 months learning on my own, and then applied and got accepted into a boot camp for another few months and started my journey as a developer. I worked as a developer for a couple of years, but really what happened that kind of kickstarted my CodeNewbie journey wasn't just coding, it was my Twitter journey. So my Twitter journey started because I looked around at the people in my boot camp, and I looked around at our collective experience. And I said to myself, the education is great. Our professor, our teacher is amazing. But the real value in doing this boot camp isn't just the education, it's the people. It's having that community of people to look up to get support from, to really grow with. And having that community meant everything. It was the big difference between learning on your own, which was very sad and lonely and frustrating a lot of the times, to being around people who also felt frustrated and also got upset and also felt stupid a lot of the times they were learning how to code. And having those mutual feelings and sharing that experience really changed the entire game and made it feel a lot more doable, a lot more feasible. And so I said to myself, I want to give other people an opportunity to find their people and to find their community, even if they're not in a boot camp. Because a boot camp was pretty expensive. At the time, it was about $11,000, $12,000. These days, it's $20,000, $25,000. And I said to myself, how do I bring people together who don't know that they can leverage each other and their relationships and their connections in order to be really great developers? How do I bring that community together? And so I started a Twitter chat. And a Twitter chat is when we meet every Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. That was our designated day and time. And for 1 hour, I would tweet out questions. And the questions would be things like, what are you excited about? And what are you learning? And where do you need help? And every week, people would come on and talk and connect. And in responding to my questions, really what they were doing was they were talking to each other. And we started off every Twitter chat exactly the same way. We started with, we are the most supportive community of programmers and people learning how to code. And we kicked off the chat with our 3 rules: be supportive, be honest, be nice. And this really set the tone for the expectations of the chat and the real value that you were getting. Once you joined this chat, you are going to be with us and you're going to create this dynamic dialogue and conversation and really help each other out. Those were the expectations. And so we did this chat, and eventually our community began to grow. We began to get bigger and bigger. And here is a lovely wall of people saying really nice things about how much they're enjoying the chat. Now, as a community builder, I learned a few things. I learned that it is really important that people feel safe and feel loved. People need that feeling, especially when it comes to entering a community and being a part of something that's bigger than themselves. This feeling of safety and love is absolutely essential. The second thing I learned is that it's not really about a place, it's about a shared experience. I see a lot of people start communities by creating a Slack channel or creating a Twitter account and not really thinking about the experience that people are going through. Because it's not that we literally had a Twitter account or had a Slack community, or these days have a community on forum. It's the fact that we had this shared experience. And our shared experience was the Twitter chat. Our shared experience was going through these conversations on a weekly basis for 1 hour and using that as the thing that connected us, that brought us together. And from that shared experience is where we were able to build our relationship. Next is the rules on recruiting and filtering. It is really, really important that we had those 3 rules that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Those rules were essential to recruit and to filter. They did one thing in terms of recruiting, which is that they said, hey, if you are this type of nice, helpful, supportive person, you want to hang out with us. We want you here. So it's recruiting people and calling people to us and attracting them to what we are doing. But the second thing it did was it filtered people out. If you are not a loving, kind, mushy, gushy, emotional kind of person, we're going to annoy the crap out of you. You're not going to want to hang out with us. And so by being kind of over the top loving and over the top supportive and over the top full of good feels and positive vibes, we kind of set ourselves up to be a turnoff for people who aren't really that type of personality and that type of predisposition. So in that way, those rules really helped us recruit and filter and kind of keep our community nice and strong. But it's not just as a community builder where I learned things. I also learned things as a developer. As a developer, I learned that people are generally helpful, and it's up to you to ask for help. This came through when we were building parts of the CodeNewbie app. This came through when we were asking for help with CodeNewbie on the technical side and the non-technical side. But it was such a refreshing thing to learn that people really are eager to help you and eager to support you. You just have to ask them. And they're really on standby, ready to do something on your behalf if they feel like they believe in your mission. And luckily, we had a mission that people really believed in. The fifth thing is the power of Twitter mentorship. This has been an absolutely incredible phenomenon to watch. And if you're active in tech Twitter, then this is probably something that is familiar to you. But it is amazing how people will say, hey, I'm struggling with something, I'm having a hard time, I don't know how to do this interview, I don't know how to do this problem. And Twitter will be there ready to mentor. And when we think of mentorship, we think of this long, deep relationship where you've known that person for years, you meet on a weekly, monthly basis, you have coffee, you talk about your hopes and dreams, and it's this very intimate relationship. And that's kind of hard to come by. It's hard to find people like that you also mesh with and connect with. And so with this Twitter mentorship idea, you don't need that level of depth, but you can still get a lot of value. You get a lot of value from just tweeting, hey, I'm having a hard time. Someone slides in your DMs and says, hey, I saw your tweet, what do you need help with? Or vice versa, you reaching out to someone else through their DMs and saying, hey, I'm having a hard time, can you help me? And them saying, what do you need? So this idea of this quick Twitter mentorship has been a really great phenomenon to watch. So I noticed that some topics were a little too big for Twitter. We did these chats for about 6 months, and there were some things that just didn't quite fit the Twitter chat experience and didn't fit the Twitter chat mold. And so I said to myself, what is a better way to have some of these deeper, more complex conversations? And that started my podcast journey, my CodeNewbie podcast journey. So we launched a show called the CodeNewbie podcast. And it's one of my favorite things that I've ever done. And we launched a show almost every week for 6-7 years. We've done hundreds of podcast episodes. And this was our opportunity to interview people and really dig into their story, to dig into how they became developers, what they're working on, to introduce new technical topics to our community of developers, and to really make sure to open the perspectives and experiences of people who are breaking into technology. Now, as a community builder, I learned that stories are everything. People love stories more than education, more than learning, more than expertise. People really want to hear a good story. And having people say, oh my goodness, I could totally relate to that, babysitter who, was working on weekends and learning how to code at nights and eventually, broke into tech. I can really relate to her journey. Being able to say, that truck driver is one of our favorites. Our truck driver story of a father, I believe, who was driving trucks for over a decade and slowly but surely learned how to code and eventually became a developer himself. These are all stories that people get excited about and love hearing from. They're an opportunity for people to connect to each other and for people to get inspired by things that maybe they can do as well. Related to that is that representation matters. We're very intentional about who we talk about and who we bring onto the show. And we work really hard to make sure that our lineup is very diverse, very inclusive. We're inclusive of people from different backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, parts of the world. We try to really diversify our lineup. And this is very intentional. It's because we really believe that representation matters. We believe that it is much, much easier to achieve a dream, to achieve a goal, if you're able to look at someone like you and say, oh, wow, if they did it, I can do it too. That is such a powerful notion. And so we want to give people as many opportunities to relate to our guests as possible. We want to show all the different ways that you can become a developer and make people feel like they are being represented in the stories that we bring to them. And as a host, what I learned is I need to get out of the way. That is my primary responsibility. Although it is my show and I am the host and I make the final decisions on things, at the end of the day, it's just not about me. It's really all about the guest. And it's my job to make the guest feel like they are the true star of the show. And just to illustrate what I mean by this, here is a graphic of one of our episodes. This is season 5, episode 8. This is many seasons ago. And this is our track for both myself and for our guest, Chad Fowler. And as you can see, I am that top row in the green, and he is the bottom blue. And as you can see, Chad talks a lot more than I do. I don't really say that much. And you can see that from the sound waves that fill up the row. And so you can see there that I'm really doing my best to kind of step back and make sure that Chad gets his space and gets his opportunity to shine. Same thing with Scott Hanselman, which is episode 17. It's a very, very early episode. I'm at the top, Scott's at the bottom, as you can see. Scott talks a lot more than Chad. Scott's got lots of great stories and things to share. And the interesting thing is, most of the sound waves you see on my track aren't even me talking. It's me going, and It's really just those sound effects. And it's my way of active listening and participating and really taking a step back and making sure that Scott has enough room to do his thing. Now, as a developer, what I learned is that there's truly no one way to do it. This is my favorite part of hearing these developer stories. People have gotten into tech in a wide range of things. And as a developer, this is such a reassuring thing to listen to and to hear. Ultimately, there is no one way to be a developer, and there is no one way to build a product. There are many different ways. There are many different avenues. There's many different things that you can try and break and fix. And ultimately, there are general best practices. There's probably a set of ways of things that you should not do and things you can avoid. But ultimately, the main goal, the main thing that we're trying to do is just get to that finish line and end up being really strong developers. And there is an endless number of ways to do that. And these shows, this podcast, is really a great reminder of the different avenues we can take. The number 10 thing is that junior developers are assets. This is one of my favorite things of doing these interviews is for more senior people. I'll ask them, what's it like to work with the juniors on your team? What has that experience been like? And over again, I hear that working with junior members is great. It's an asset. Juniors offer a fresh perspective. Juniors ask a lot of really great questions. Juniors are really great people to see things from a different perspective and to really bring in a new edge, a new twist on the way things are doing, the way things are happening. They challenge the status quo because they don't have, ingrained, their own way of doing things yet. So they're able to learn very quickly and be more malleable. And they're able to very comfortably go, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Because it comes from a place of sheer curiosity and trying to understand. And it helps kind of challenge you and make sure that you know what you're talking about, what you're doing. So juniors are a great addition to the team. And it's been wonderful just hearing more senior developers call that out and support our early career developers. Number 11 is that consistency is powerful. It is so important to just continuously show up. For us, that means that we, do the podcast on a regular basis. We used to do it every week. Now we do it in season. So we do every week for 8 weeks, and we take a month off. Then we go back 8 weeks, take a month off. But consistency is really powerful, and this shows up in developing too. It is really important that you keep coding. One of the things that we hear is people say, I go on and off and I start and then I stop. And people ultimately need to just keep being really consistent and keep going in their coding. And that consistency is really important. So we've been doing the podcast. Things are going great. We're having a great time. And then I get an email from a company. And this email says, hey, I'll pay you $200 if you run an ad on your show. And I said to myself, holy crap, I can make money from this. And so I decided to take my podcast and transform it into an entrepreneurial journey. And that's what we will talk about next. So as an entrepreneur with CodeNewbie, I ended up building a business that was based on sponsorships and advertising. And so everything except for our conference was free to our community. And then of course we charge a ticket price for our conference, which was still very inexpensive, very, very low cost compared to other conferences. And everything else we did for free with the support of our sponsors and advertisers. And so in that entrepreneurial journey, I learned a few things as a community builder. I learned that it is very important to capture the value you create. I've talked to many community builders who put out a lot of really great work and don't make any money from it and aren't able to sustain themselves. And what happens inevitably is they burn out. They burn out, they cut back on the activities they're doing, or they stop altogether. They're not able to fully fulfill their mission of supporting their community as much as they want to. And ultimately, I understand that not everyone can turn their thing into a business, but I think that finding those opportunities to capture that value and being really open to that and really intentional about that is really important to the sustainability of what you're doing. And as a developer, I learned that sustainability is very important. As a CodeNewbie founder, it really is talking about that money aspect, that financial aspect. But in terms of coding, we're also talking about this idea of, open source, of collaboration, of giving yourself to your community and making sure to do your best in bringing them what it is that they need to be better developers. And so for that, that means us being able to do our work consistently, do it well, and do it over a long period of time. And that sustainability especially comes into play when we talk about open source and how a lot of open source, contributors really burn out, and they really do, just hit a wall after so much of giving and giving and giving. So being able to go at a steady pace, being able to manage your own health and your own energy is really, really important, both in community building and also in building a product. So things were going really well. And then we decided to introduce a second show called the Base CS podcast. And this show was all about teaching computer science. So we taught computer science in little bite-sized chunks of 20 minutes each. And I did this with my co-host, Vaidehi Joshi, who wrote the blog series called Base CS Blog Series. And so in doing this podcast, what we learned was something about accessibility. So we got this really nice email from a listener who said, "Thank you so much for listening, for putting together the show. It's been a huge value add to myself. And it's been really powerful for me because I'm blind and I can't use a lot of the computer science material out there because I can't see, and a lot of it is very visual. And it was really great to hear a resource, literally hear a resource that I could use." And I thought about that and I said, whoa, I never thought of it that way. I created a podcast because I like audio, and I think audio is a really great medium for this type of content. But I really wasn't thinking about it in terms of an accessibility standpoint. And that's what brought me to our 14th lesson, which is that accessibility is everywhere, even when you're not expecting it. Every time you draw something, every time you write something, every time you put something out in the internet, there is an accessibility angle to it, whether you mean there to be or you don't. There is going to be some group of people who are able to access that content, people who aren't, and it's your job to think about the people who aren't and figure out how to bring them into the equation and how to bring them into your community. So it was just a really eye-opening experience to think that accessibility isn't just about, color contrast or the WCAG. It really is about everything that we do, period, including a conference. And that brings me to my next journey, which is my conference organizer journey. So we organized a conference called Codeland. And this conference is one of my favorite things, one of my other favorite things that I've ever done. And we had a really great conference, in-person experience before COVID. And then now it's become remote. And it was a really great opportunity for us to bring together our CodeNewbie people from the internet and really bring them together in real life to have them see each other, meet each other, get to know each other, hear talks from each other, and just build a physical community for our first time. I thought it was just going to be a really powerful way to do things. Now, at the end of this CodeNewbie conference, this CodeLand conference, what ended up happening is, I asked people to give me feedback. And I said, hey, tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you think we should improve. And I thought the conference went really well. I was really excited. And, I get home and I open my inbox and I get a slew of emails of all the things that we gotten wrong. All these little things like forgetting to put food labels on certain foods. The furniture was too small is one thing I heard from an attendee. Water bottles versus, a jug of water was another piece of feedback that I got. Environmental concerns, things like that. And there was just a whole list of things that I saw that I was not that I was not expecting, because I thought we did a great job. And I looked at that inbox, and at first I felt a little disappointed. I felt, man, I thought we did really well. Look at all the things we got wrong. And then I thought to myself, I should be really grateful. I should be really grateful that people cared enough about what we're doing to really tell us how we can do better, right? That shows that people really give a crap about what we're doing and our mission. And there was this one email that I got from a friend of mine who gave a nice, pretty thorough list of feedback. And I said to her, thank you so much for your email. Very thorough. You should go to other conferences and tell them, give them your feedback, because your feedback is just so good. It was so specific and so detailed. And she said to me, oh, I don't do this for everyone. I only did this for you because I know that you'll do something about it. And I thought about that and I said, not only do people care enough to give me this feedback, but they also trust that I'll actually do something about it. I never thought of it that way before. So as a community builder, I learned that feedback is love. Feedback is people saying, I care enough about what you're doing that I want you to do it even better, that I want it to be even more amazing, even more magnificent. And I see potential in doing this an even better way and living up to its full potential. And I would like to help you get there. That's really what feedback is all about. And when you look at feedback through this lens, all of a sudden, it hurts a lot less and it becomes a lot more easy to take in and to really, take into yourself and act on. So feedback is definitely love. The 16th thing is that small, consistent acts build trust. One thing that really made me think about that last email where she said, I sent this to you because I know you'll do something about it, is I wondered to myself, well, how do you know that? What have I done? How do you know that I'm going to be the person to take these little bits of feedback and do something about it? What is the proof of that? And I thought through my experience just with CodeNewbie and how I've, worked as a founder and how I have managed myself as the creator of the company. And I said to myself, it really isn't in anything grand. It's really in these small little acts. It's in showing up every Wednesday for the Twitter chats. It's in emailing, hopefully quickly, and responding to people's questions and concerns. It's responding to people's DMs. It's getting on the countless phone calls I've gotten on in the last years, talking to people who are new to coding, new to development, who just want a little bit of help, a little bit of advice. It's in all these different little acts that have built trust and confidence over the years. And it's really this long track record of little things that have added up to this sense of trust overall. As a developer, I learned that application is much more important than tooling. This comes in to our conference talks. Our talks were very much geared towards the why and the how versus the what. And so instead of talking about, this is what this framework is and does, we talk about it in terms of this is how this framework helps solve a problem. And this was really important to us. It was really important for us to showcase not just what technology can do, but what it can do for you and how it can solve a problem and how it can benefit a true community. And this focus on application was something that we saw people really gravitated towards. So the next thing is that everyone is a newbie. This was a saying that did not come from me. It actually came from our community when people would say, I may be a senior developer, I may have 10 years under my belt, but ultimately everyone's a newbie. And that is certainly true. Even with our more advanced topics and our more senior topics, or even our beginner topics, there were people who, even if they were senior, could benefit from the beginner topics because they were beginners in that topic. And this happened so much. There was so much crossover where people who felt like they were really junior in one area found they actually knew a little bit more in a different area. And people who were really experienced in one knew nothing about the other. And so it really helped us kind of set this culture of everyone is new. No one knows everything, and we're all learning and relearning and kind of starting over and over again. And a lot of times we're back at the beginning, whether we like to or not. And having this mindset is very healthy and helps us be open to learning and growing. Now, this next section comes with a bit of a trigger warning. We are going to talk about some mental health, some depression type things. So if this isn't your jam, please feel free to skip in the next minute or two. So next, we're going to talk about my mental health journey. Now, my mental health journey was a really, really big part of my story, not just as a community builder, but just as a person in tech. And my mental health journey began a couple of years ago when I was feeling really, really depressed for months at a time. I didn't know what was going on. I hated everything. I was just very down. I had a really hard time functioning, getting out of bed. I slept a lot, all those things that you hear about when it comes to depression. And then I would have months of pure bliss, and I would have an amazing time, and I would be really productive and really energetic and really creative. And I kept going back and forth through these cycles and didn't know kind of what was going on, and didn't piece together that what I had was not actually depression, it was bipolar. And it took about a year after my diagnosis to actually say to myself, okay, I need to do something about this. And I lost that 1 year of mental health because I kept saying to myself, you don't need drugs. You don't need to do anything about this. Like just eat well, work out, and do your best. And I'm sure you can manage it. And I saw it almost as a sign of strength that I didn't need drugs. And I saw it as a sign of preserving who I was. One of my biggest fears about bipolar and taking medication for it was I was afraid to confront it. I was afraid to accept that I did indeed need help, because if I did, and if I got on medication, and if I became a brand new person, that I would lose myself. I would lose this identity, this person that I'd gotten to know all these years. And I was afraid of finding out the things I loved about myself, my creativity, my passion, my focus, wasn't really me. It was this disorder. That was what I was really afraid of. And so about a year of, battling this and, kind of going on and off, being depressed, being happy, going up and down, I said to myself, I can't live like this anymore. I had panic attacks almost every single day. And I said, I just can't do this. I need to fix my problem. And so I ended up getting on medication, and it completely changed my life. So as a human, I learned drugs are great. Drugs are awesome. Taking medication has been one of the smartest things that I've done in my life, for both my career, for my personal health, for my professional journey. And I learned that, there's nothing shameful about asking for help. And there's nothing shameful about taking treatment if you need it, and if that's something that can actually benefit you. The next thing I learned is that mental health is indeed self-care. When I think about self-care, I think candles and, bubble baths and, meditation. And those things are definitely self-care, and those totally count. But I think just as valuable is, not beating yourself up. Just as valuable is, clearing your mind, is being on, medication if that's what's best for you. It's going to therapy. It's doing all these things to really take care of your brain, of your mental health. And that is showing yourself self-love and self-care as well. Now, what I've learned, and hopefully what you've picked up on, is that developers and community builders really aren't that different. Whether you're building an app or you're building a community, you're going through the same journey of understanding, building, listening, and iterating. You're trying to understand your community, and you're trying to really get what it is that they need and what it is that they want. You're constantly building something new, whether it's a podcast, an app, a conference, whatever it is, you're creating something new all the time. You're listening, you're going back to what you created, and you're taking in that feedback, whether it comes in that little, ask me a question support button on your website, or whether it's just an email or a feedback form that you email people. You're always listening, and you're trying to get that feedback and see what people say. And then you iterate, you rebuild, you fix those things, you relaunch, you deploy again, you fix those things that you got wrong the first time, and you try one more time, and you keep trying until you get it right. And you go through this feedback loop over and over and over again. no matter what it is you're building. And all these steps fit right into community building and fit right into product development as well. So whether you're building an app or a community, good work takes time and patience. It's a lot of iterations. It's a lot of interviews. It's a lot of listening. I've listened to hundreds and thousands of people over the years, and I'm still learning what the community needs and what we should be building for them. And good work is never done. It never quite feels like you're finished. Every time you think you've nailed it, you learn something new that happens, or the world around you changes. And the world says, hey, I think that, this new trend is coming up, or this new company has popped up, or this new concern has happened, especially in the last couple of years. I'm sure we can relate to all that's been happening in the world. And now it's time to regroup, to bring on a new product, a new perspective, a new podcast maybe, and really speak to the needs of the community and the audience. So that's my story. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You learned maybe something from it. Thank you so much. You can reach me on Twitter at Saron Yitbarek. Thank you so much for your time.